Good evening. We're here at Go Live Vegas Studios in the heart of Las Vegas. This is Full Tilt Vegas. I'm going to begin because I got a few things to tell you. Because Brett's going to be coming in about 15, 20 minutes. You can go ahead and get my book. Amazon, you can download it and get it on your phone. You get it at Barnes & Noble. Teach you blackjack, craps, and roulette. Everything you want to know about those three games. I go into percentage and ratios and gives you an idea what good and bad bets are. And also the ratios in the casino, what you're fighting. And so that's what I wanted to put in this book, not just for somebody to read about blackjack, craps, or roulette. I did that because I think people, when I was dealing here for the MGM Corporation, I really thought the people that I was dealing with, they didn't have poor money management skills. They're hedge betting, they didn't know nothing about that, which some people were doing and didn't even know it, or people playing two hands, which I always say, play two hands when you play blackjack. Sometimes, a lot of times, one pays the other. Don't play three hands. I already did scenarios. I talked about it. You're better off playing two hands. Just play two hands. I already did. I go through it in some of my episodes on blackjack. Okay, what I'm going to do is I got to correct something here. Because I always go and watch, like tonight, I'll watch this video, and I'll see if I made any mistakes. Might not make none tonight because I'm not going into percentage and ratios. But the last show, I think it was, might have been two shows back, where this is 62. I think this is, 62, might have been 59. I was talking about roulette in the Westgate, how they have triple zeros. I just saw a thing with Anthony Curtis. He was on my show, episode 14. You want to go ahead and see that. Former Card Counter has a Las Vegas advisor here. You can go anything you want to see in Las Vegas. I would say go on that, and you'll find all the new stuff coming on in Las Vegas. There's a lot of things happening here in Vegas. So you want to go to Las Vegas Advisor, Anthony Curtis, and look at all the new stuff, casinos, and who's charging, who's not charging for parking, dinner coupons. I think he said there's only 10 buffets right now. But go ahead and look at that. I really give him a plug because I've known him years ago, and he remembered me, and he came. I gave him a phone call, and he called me like. It was like 3 weeks later. I was so shocked. I go, who's this? And he goes, oh, wow, okay. He called me back, and he came out on the show. I was really surprised because the guy's very busy. He's really busy. Travel Channel. He's been on Vegas Cheats. He was on the Bar Rescue. They call him for if they have want to know anything about Vegas, Cheats, casino, how they work. They always call him. They should be calling me. I'm going to be next. But anyway, he's really cool guy, so I'm really glad he came on my show. Okay, what I want, that's the bell. There we go. The on roulette at the Westgate, they talked about Anthony Curtis, and I think it's AmericanGaming.com talked about it. It's another good one you can go to. They talked about the triple zero. It's a lot of casinos are doing it now. Don't play that. You're adding another 2.63%. to already 38 pockets. Now you got another pocket, and I do talk about it. I think it was episode 57. Is it 57 or it might be 58? But yeah, they were talking about it, and it just blew my mind because I was listening to Anthony Curtis, and he was saying exactly what I was saying about the percentages. What is it, 7.89%? That's what you're fighting instead of 5.56%. Which is two zeros. European wheel is 1 0, which is 2.78%. So it's crazy because they added that zero. But what I wanted to correct was, like I said, if you came in, like somebody's going to go all the way down there and play that triple zero, like you're supposed to win something special. No, it's the same percentage ratio to hit that. Now you got, now it was 38 to your 1 to hit it. And then other people say they play 25 other straight up numbers or whatever, and they win the triple zero, and they subtract the losses, which is 25. Say you're playing dollars, you subtract 25. I said 14. It's actually 15 because you win 40, you subtract 25. It's 25, 35, 40, which is $15 because the dollar actually stays up because it's to the bet, not for the bet. So I said 14 is actually you win 15. So you're not winning. You didn't go all the way down there and win $40. You won $15. So I wanted to correct that. I like to make my corrections because we have a lot of numbers in our head. People in my line of, I guess, talking about gaming or gambling, I've heard. I'm not going to say. There's a lot of people that I know, or some of the shows that I do talk about Vegas and all that. There's a lot of people who do make mistakes, and I can see them right there. And I see sometimes they come back and correct it. So that's what I do. I just want to correct what I said. Okay. Now what I'm going to talk about today, the Belmont, I wasn't really going to talk about it because I don't know if people wanted to know about it. I don't understand why people make a big deal. They don't go there all year round, and they go, ooh, the Belmont, ooh, that horse that won the Kentucky Derby. That horse, everything, I think it was a Strike. I can't remember his last name. Anyway, that horse, when the Kentucky Derby ran, that race actually set up for that horse. If anybody knows anything about horse racing, that race actually set up for the horse to win that race. They opened up they opened up the Red Sea, and that horse just went right through the rail. I mean, the horse is a good horse, but people have to understand something. I think the splits were quick, and it just set up for the horse. And I said, you know what, just because that horse won doesn't mean he's going to win the Preakness or Belmont. And so I didn't go today. I thought about it, but when you go on days like that, I remember back in the day when I used to go with Gary, Gary would bring extra money, a lot of money. He'd bring an extra $3,000 in his pocket. I would bring an extra money. Back then I wasn't betting a lot. So he used to bring extra money. He told me, Richard, on these days, not only you're playing like Kentucky Derby, Belmont Preakness, or even the Breeders' Cup, those races, there are some very good horses, and you'll get prices you'll never get normally. So, and then we're not playing just one track. We're playing, my people. Well, we used to play 2 tracks. I don't play no more than 2 tracks. Very rarely I play 3, but I play 2 tracks. And so a lot of times when me and Gary would play, we'd play the 2 tracks, and we picked, horses that we think are going to win, and put them in our exactas or pick 3s, which are exotic bets. And but you'll see things, and the track changes, and you might lose. You might lose like I've lost sometimes 5 races. No, my record. I tell you, I used to lose 4 races, 5 races. But man, I made 1 race I would win. I'd get all my money back. That happened to me. The one that I really remember was years ago. I was with Gary, and we couldn't win. He won a few races, but we couldn't win for nothing. And Gary told me, Richard, I think there's a horse at the last race. I think he's going to win. I'm pretty sure he's going to win that race. I'm almost positive, 99%. I think when he said that, I took off. I ran to the bank. I ran to the bank like a little sicko, and I got somebody at the ATM because I had time to go get it. I didn't want to pay all those amount they charge you there. So I end up, God, what did I get? I can't remember what I got out. I think it was $40. I can't remember. But anyway, so I came back, and I lost $300. Back then, that was a lot of money to me back then, $300. And I bet the horse, I actually bet that exacta. I didn't bet the horse to win. I bet the exacta. Gary gave me the horse, and the next horse that came in was actually the favorite. And I used to bet a lot of favorites back then. So I put him, I just boxed him. So it came in, and it was funny because it paid $30, but I had it 10 times. So you move the decimal over, and it's 300. I got exactly what I lost, my money, $300. So those days you have to bring extra money because you might see something, track might change. You can go on Delatory 360 Entertainment and go to episode 7 through 10. It's funny because a lot of people look at my first episode 7, and I don't know why. I got more on 9, and I think it's 10 than I do 8. I don't know why people are not looking at 8. You need to start from 7 and go all the way to 10 because I'm giving you information all the way to episode 10. And you should, if you want to learn anything about horse racing, I'm just telling. I'm really really good. I'm not great, but I'm pretty good because I've won some pretty good money, and I do handicap pretty good. I see things a lot of people don't see. Um, so, did I talk about? I haven't even talked about Phar Lap. Anyway, so yeah, you. There's a lot of things. Trust me. Just go to episode 7 through 10, and anything you want to know about horse racing. I can say about 32 years of experience from horse racing. I did it for 9 years straight. 9 years. I get how much. I hung around with Gary for 9 years. There was other guys around, Joe and Fred. They're all millionaires. I was the only one on unemployment. But it's like I went to college. And I sat there and I soaked everything in from everybody, and especially Gary. And I learned so much stuff about horse racing. People just see horses run around the track. That's not what's going on. There's breeding, there's jockey, trainer, standards. You have the surface of the track, dirt from turf to dirt. That's very important. 6 furlong, a mile, mile and a quarter, 1 turn, 2 turns, rail biases, inside, outside, front line, front running bias, come from behind bias. There is so many things that you should know. And then one of the main things that I always say, the surface of the track playing that day is very important, and you have to watch the splits. I do teach the splits. You can go on, I think, episode either 1 or 2. I talk about the splits, and you should know that. Where your horse is at when you hit the first 2 furlongs and then the next 2 furlongs, 4 furlongs, and I tell you exactly pretty much what the split should be. California. If they're the other tracks, you add 1 tick to it. So if it's 21-3, add 22-3. If it's 4 furlongs is 45-4, then it's 46-4 at Belmont. Sometimes they run, a lot of times they run 47-48. But it depends. That's another thing. That's the thing about horse racing. It's a science, because sometimes when it's a yielding track, either the dirt or turf, the jockeys know it. They're not dumb. They know it. So sometimes you'll see them run, and you'll see front runners, horses that run to the front. They're not running like they're supposed to. And I says, why isn't that guy? Why doesn't he keep going? I hear people all over. Hey, that horse is supposed to be in the front. Why is that? How come that horse is not taking off? It's because they know the track is yielding, and what that means is either soft, it has too much water on it, and the hoofs are sinking too deep. And if they run too fast, they'll get tired. So they're trotting along. Well, not trotting. They're running a little bit. They're probably going just like you see the splits, 21 miles an hour. And then the fastest they run is 44 miles an hour. But they'll get tired. That's why they're doing it. That's why you have to watch the track and see how the track is playing. Okay, so I guess, am I talking about it? Yeah, because I got to talk about 2 other things about horse racing. But anyway, that horse that, the horse that won, the Belmont, that's the horse I like. I didn't go today. It was Mo. It was by Uncle Mo, which I do talk about in my episodes. Uncle Mo, Into Mischief, and God, what's the other one? There's those 3 you got to look out for. And Danzig on the turf is on the dam side. Anytime you're handicapping the turf, don't look at the sire, look at the dam. You have to look at the dam. And Danzig goes way back. So a lot of horses are still the granddaughter, great granddaughters or sons from the dam, which is the female. And yeah, I think I'm done with that. Oh, that horse, yeah, like I said, Uncle Mo, he won. He was 7 and change. The Red Ortiz brothers won, and that's funny because some people do bet those guys. I mean, that would have been probably the race I would have won, but actually I probably would have had that exacta. The one I would have had to worry about was Pratt. Pratt, it's very dangerous, very damn good jockey. I'm very scared of that guy. Either I want him to win when I have him, sometimes he beats me, but that guy reminds me of Gary Stevens. Gary Stevens used to kill me all the time. But he's a great jockey. Gary Stevens was a fantastic jockey. He played George Wolfe in the movie Seabiscuit. Anyway, okay, so now I'm going to talk about on Facebook. There was a guy named Mike, and they were talking about Secretariat came up, which is a fantastic. Probably to me, I know people are probably going to get mad, but to me, I think Secretariat was probably the second greatest horse. The second greatest horse. I mean, I know people can get upset at me, but I'm sorry. fantastic horse. But I'm going to tell you about a horse that a lot of people don't know about. And this horse is called Phar. If anybody gets a chance, you can buy it or go and see this movie. You blow your mind what this horse did. This horse was almost like could have been the brother of Secretariat. He died when they both died. They did autopsy. Their heart was twice the size. Phar was the same, and they used to call Phar Big Red, just like Secretariat. But a lot of people never seen or don't know anything about Phar. And so I just want everybody to know, if you go see that movie I've probably seen about 20 times. So the trainer was Harry Telford, and Dave Davis was the owner. The strapper, his name was Tom. I can't remember his name was Tom. So they're trying to get me distracted here. I know they're talking about Secretariat. Oh, Secretariat was also named by I think she was a secretary. Magic Hand. But don't get me wrong, Secretariat was a fantastic horse. But the thing about Phar, if you guys got it, if anybody's in a horse race, you got to see this movie. It'll just blow your mind. I've seen it like probably, 20, 30 times, but I haven't seen it in probably 15 years. But I could have met Johnny Longden. Johnny Longden was in that race. Johnny Longden was was a great, fantastic jockey back then. And he was in the race. It was in Caliente when they brought all the best horses, and whatever horses they brought was the best, just like Kentucky Derby. They turned around, and he said that horse went by him like he was standing still. And Phar used to run from behind. Okay, Phar was a turf horse. Came from, New Zealand. But when he was bought, they brought him to Australia. But, and they bought him for, I think, I don't know what it was. What do they call that? How much in their money, farling or whatever it was bought for. But anyway, it was bought real cheap because the horse didn't do nothing. You couldn't get him to win. He wouldn't behave. Well, the Harry Telford straightened that out. So he got him to start winning and all that, and the horse come from behind on the grass. So this horse, check this out. If you know anything about horse racing, this horse, they shipped this horse all the way from Australia to Caliente. There was the best horses in the world that ran in that big race. First time was a $100,000 race. That horse, Phar, not only ran for the first time on dirt, which was like a rock. I mean, you're talking like a rock. That's how hard its surface was. That horse wasn't used to it. Not only that, he actually ran the other way for the first time. They had to train him real quick to run the other way. Because they run, clockwise or counterclockwise? Anyway, in Australia, they had to teach him to run the other way, and he had a cracked hoof when he ran. Now, they had to cut it off and mend it before the race. And you know how hard the surface is, like running on asphalt? That horse had never done that before. And he actually annihilated all those horses, the best horses. That's why I think Phar was the greatest horse. And everywhere he ran before, he beat every horse, no matter how much weight you put on him. He ran, I think it was a Melvin Cup. He ran 135 pounds, which is unheard of. Those horses, I think, were running 121 pounds. He had 135 pounds on him when he beat them. Go watch that movie, Phar. Fantastic. Okay, I got to hurry up and get off here, but what I'm going to do before I leave... You got to talk about this stuff. What stuff? That's what I'm going to do. Okay, I did play about 4 or 5 days ago. I played at church, which I was looking at the track. I was looking at the surface, and... I really like the horse. This is the thing I talk about in my episodes. I would notice on the 7 horse, it was a 7 furlong race, and Tyler Gaffney was on the 7 horse. He got off that 7 horse to ride the 12. And I says, you got to look out for that. When a jockey runs on a horse and gets off that horse to ride another horse and has never been on this horse before, and not only that, this horse comes out into mischief, which I've told people about that. Yeah, he was number 12, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go bet. I think I'm going to bet this horse because into mischief, Tyler gets off the 7 to get on the 12, and I bet it. I said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go bet 200 to win. So there's my ticket right there. I bet 200 to win. And the payoff was There it is, number 12. Race 6, it was $7. Now, when you play $2, that's what it would be paid, $7. But since I'm playing, if you play $20, you move the decimal over one time, it becomes $70. But if you play 200, you move the decimal over 2 times, which now I got paid $700. So I made a $500 profit because it's to the bet. So, but these are the things that you should know when you see a jockey. You see a jockey get off a horse and run on another horse, especially when you see a jockey rides for a certain trainer. Say he loves that trainer, and he gets off to go ride another horse. You better look at that horse, because that horse is more likely, probably, maybe going to win. I won some really good money because of that, and won some pretty good pick threes. Okay, I'm going to get off here because Brett and his new friend is coming out. I don't know the guy. We're going to meet. We're going to meet We're going to meet during the commercial. So let's go ahead and run that commercial, and we'll be right back. Hi, my name is Richard Delatorre. I'm the author of, it's in the book, Winning Ways. It's on Blackjack, Craps, and Roulette, and you can get it on Amazon, Google Play. You can get it on Barnes & Noble, and it teaches you the ratios and percentages of the casino, because the casino is really in charge. I put the percentages and ratios in your favor. You spend a little bit more money, but you have a better chance of winning. Doesn't mean you're going to win. No book should ever say you guarantee you're going to win. But what I did do is I cut down the ratios and percentages so you fully understand them on these 3 games. So you can go ahead and get that book. I was one of the top selling books on Amazon. 2018, I was number 7. I was with Doyle Brunson, Agranu, The Magician, John Patrick. So I was pretty good for my first book. So you can go ahead and get that book and pretty much read it to where you pretty much got it memorized. And you should be walking to casinos pretty much as an expert on these 3 games. The platform here is Go Live Vegas Studios, and my show is called Full Tilt Vegas, 6 p.m. Saturday night. I do have guests. Brett Lawson is a sports analyst. He comes on after me. Sometimes we double up. He does it on all the sports, and you can go ahead and see that. And I'll see you next Saturday or every Saturday at 6 p.m. on Full Tilt Vegas. Thank you very much.
Go Live Vegas Studios, a unique multi-camera social media virtual content creators paradise. We offer high-end services using live streaming and film production for your personal or corporate, commercial or event and campaign needs. Pre-record or live stream to your audience on multiple social media platforms simultaneously. Fun and interactive with social media comments, phone lines, live remotes, audio Foley sounds, and Snapchat filters. Be creative, get recognized, and make money. We help you by providing an all in-house production team. Visit our website at golive.vegas.
What's going on, everybody? Brett Lawson here, co-host of Full Tilt Vegas and local sports analyst. Just a quick heads up, moving forward, I will be a regular part of the show where my segment, the back end of the show, will focus on everything in the world of sports gambling. You will still have Richard's insights and expertise and everything from his book, Winning Ways, in the first part of the show, where he will dabble with table games and overall floor-related gambling, where my part of the show will focus on analyzing matchups, odds, totals, money lines, spreads, props, overall gambling, psychology, and philosophy, and just the things you need to know if you want to become a sports bettor, or if you already are a sports bettor and want to sharpen your skills in that racket. So stick around. Moving forward, you will have both ends of the spectrum in the world of gambling with Richard and myself moving forward on Full Tilt Vegas. All right, here we go. Time to kick it into gear. Thank you, Richard, for that outstanding analysis of the Belmont Stakes and everything that goes into it. Obviously, horse racing, a huge part of what we do here on the show and right here from the Go Live Vegas studios. But now is the time that we like to shift into the world of sports betting. And joining me to do that today is my good buddy, Michael Lugo. Joined me on the program here 2 weeks ago where we had the full hour, and we have close to a full hour now the rest of the way with plenty to talk about. Going to jump into some basketball, of course. Jump onto the ice with the game underway. Rangers, Tampa Bay Lightning, New York facing elimination. We'll keep tabs on that one as we get rolling here over the next couple of minutes. But, of course, UFC 275 going down tonight as well. Main card starts in just under an hour, so plenty of analysis there as well. But we got it. Why are we going to baseball? I didn't mention baseball once. He's all over the place right now. But that is true. Now that actually is a lot of hockey. The Oregon is Yeah, that's true. The Oregon's always either baseball or hockey. So well played there by our Canadian behind the boards. But again, plenty to talk about on the ice, plenty to talk about on the hardwood and in the octagon. We're going to start in the hardwood because, of course, well then, all right. We're going to start what was that? Oh, yeah, okay. Anyway, yeah, we may have to get the producer out of here. He's turning this into a morning zoo program. But anyway, lots to talk about across the board. Basketball, obviously, leading the way. Lugo, we talked about previewing this series just 2 weeks ago, and here we are in the middle of it. Game 4, obviously, very eventful with Game 5 on the horizon. That's where we're going to start here today because, again, plenty to talk about with that Game 5 based off of what we just saw in this recent installment. But before we look ahead and jump into that line, we have to first discuss what took place in that Game 4. And it's easy to start with the obvious. We're not going to bury the lead here. It was the Steph Curry show.
It was great.
It was great. It was historic. It was his greatest finals performance, and it was something that team desperately needed because what has been the story for the Golden State Warriors offensively the entire way against Boston? Exactly.
Stephen Curry.
You said it all right there. So obviously we're just going to be repeating that ad nauseum if we were going to go there. But the way he did it, the degree in which he did it. Let me just go ahead and read you the stat line really quick. In 41 minutes, racks up 43 points, dishes out 4 assists, 10 boards, 14 for 26 in his field goal shooting, 7 for 14 beyond the arc. So obviously he gets it done. And really, Lugo, as we were talking about, because we were watching that broadcast together, looked like a true point guard. Because we've seen games where Steph Curry just gets ridiculous from downtown. But we saw everything. We saw the mid-range. We saw the handles. We saw him shaking off Marcus Smart and Robert Williams, some of the best defenders in the game. One of them the defensive player of the year. We saw him do so much in so many elements from that position. And next thing you know, the team gets it done by way of a 10-point victory, 107-97. They were 4-point dogs in that contest and now take it back.
That 10
and
points.
now, absolutely, as Lugo will allude to it a little bit later, that's one of his bets that cash from the other night, as we have a first-time app better, as again we'll touch on later in the show. He has a lot of insights and anecdotes already just off the first week. But again, they cap it off 107-97 to take it back to the Bay Area. Game 5 going down tomorrow night. No, wait, Monday night. Yeah, I'm already thrown off. Yeah, this whole 2-gap thing keeps throwing me off, but I get why they're doing it, given the Stanley Cup playoffs taking place on ESPN as well. But again, Monday night, Game 5, they go back to the Bay. We'll touch on that in a minute in the line. But Lugo, aside from Steph Curry, what was your main takeaway from this game? Was it the storylines going in? Obviously, everyone wants to talk about Draymond Green and his lack of offensive production. Is he podcasting too much? Is his head in the game? Is Boston getting insights from this? And are they trying to find some type of, advantage by listening? There's all these things. Clay not doing practically anything, not even practically, not doing anything at all since Game 6 of the Western Conference Final Series. And even he kind of makes his presence known a little late there as well. What the hell is this music? Like, this is all over the place, Aaron. My goodness. Anyway, this is nothing like you did last time. Anyway, so obviously we could talk about the big three and the lack thereof of a certain two in the big three, but even they were able to make their presence known. What do you think is the story of the series moving forward? Because in the aftermath of Game 3, a lot of immediate talk was Boston may just have too much for him. And even if Steph Curry continues to backpack this, he may just be a little bit too short-handed in terms of the arsenal. Boston may just be a little bit too loaded on the two-way front. What are your thoughts now going into Game 5, given what Steph Curry was able to do?
My thing is, I think it's how long can Andrew Wiggins last?
Oh, I like
You
that.
know what I mean? Last night it seemed like it was Steph keeping him in the game for the whole long until the fourth quarter where Clay started heating up. Draymond kind of – honestly, their best lineup last night looked like when they benched Draymond in late in that third or early in that fourth quarter.
Yep.
And they started getting hot on offense.
And look at what Looney was even able to do.
Looney got to be able to play his own little way. And Draymond, I'm pretty sure that's what he said on the podcast, right? Was he would even bench himself. And, hey, that's what you got to do. You got to be right about. You got to be honest about yourself sometime in sports.
Put the team, and you have to put the team first. And that's kind of always been the name of the Warriors. We just forget it because they had that stint where they had so much star power with Kevin Durant. We often forget in the past, even before Durant, this bench was often the key to their success, utilizing the depth and sometimes those stars taking a back seat. This win, even though it was very much the Steph Curry show, who is their ultimate star, this win was kind of in a way reflective of that because of what Looney was able to do. And even Wiggins, who's a starter, but Wiggins now in a role where we have seen other players shine, Harrison Barnes, Kevin Durant, he's now in that role, and he's showing that he can be a pivotal piece for the team as well.
And it seems like he's given you that half of what Clay can give you with the scoring aspect and the shooting aspect.
the two-way
and then he
aspect.
can also give you. Steph got all those boards, but the next person behind him, I don't know his exact stat line last night, but he was on the boards. He got some crucial offensive rebounds late in the second half. But as long as he can stay there and help Steph and Andrew Wiggins, I think they could go past the. That's enough to pass the Boston Celtics for me.
And heading into Game 5, Golden State again going back to the Bay. They will be laying 3.5 at home for that game, tipping off 6 o'clock Monday night. The up and down 212.5. Some of these overs have been tricky, as I mentioned, as they are. They are throughout the regular season, and they only get that much harder in the playoffs, which only gets that much more. Only gets that much
later in those,
magnified.
Series, it's the less scoring you see.
Yep.
So.
And we're starting to see we've seen some grinds in this series defensively. We've seen some dogfights in this series. And you got to wonder what is going to be, kind of like what I just asked you, the main narrative moving forward. Because it's kind of foolish to expect Steph Curry to do this again, because we've been expecting him to carry the load the entire way in terms of the series.
Different.
And this was
exactly.
Different.
It's not the three of them. It's just him.
It's not contributing aspects with Steph Curry really leading and spearheading the front. He is the front. And it wasn't until very, very late where we saw some contributions and help from other people. And this is almost showing, because we talked about it during the broadcast, Lugo, and a lot is to be said about the third quarter of the Warriors. We've seen it this series. We've seen it for years. It's really more so just a narrative finally now, because we've seen it so much and we kind of glossed over it for such a long period of time. Now we're at the point where we're like, oh yeah, this third quarter stat for the Warriors really is something and is starting to tell the story. But even throughout that broadcast, as we're going throughout the fourth quarter into the middle of that, we talked about Jeff on the broadcast, something we were talking about, how Jeff Van Gundy even said
Rangers down.
What?
Rangers down.
Yep. Then Tampa Bay drawing first blood once again here in Game 6. Down in Florida, they lead 1-0 with, I can't even see but a chunk of time left in the second, so we'll keep you posted on that. But just looking at that game, Van Gundy wound up even saying later in the broadcast, about 20 minutes after we were talking about it, Curry is doing, ironically, what LeBron James did to him and so many of those stacked Warriors teams for that stretch of time in 15, 16, 17, 18. What LeBron James was able to do on basically just a one-man colossal effort against Steph Curry's teams, we are now seeing Steph Curry doing against a Boston team that is very well-rounded.
The backpack's heavy, man.
Yeah.
He's got it on. He's in his bag this year. He's in his bag this series, and it's great to see him finally answer some of those doubters that he's been getting with this whole, is he a point guard? Is he is he just a shooter? No.
What is he truly?
Underrated handles. He is a point guard. You know what I mean?
And I know a lot of people, some of the older heads, some of the guys who like the older guard in basketball are always going to be a little bit critical of what the Golden State Warriors do and how Steph Curry plays basketball. But you have to at least acknowledge greatness when you see it. It may not be your preferred method of greatness, if you will, but it's an aspect of greatness that can't go without acknowledgement and really can't go without appreciation, at least if you like sports, especially if you appreciate great basketball, and Steph Curry does just that. Now the question is, will it carry over? Will this even light a fire under Draymond or Clay? Will we finally see something from them on a consistent basis moving forward? We know what Draymond does for the team defensively. We saw him with the scrappiness and the antics in Game 2 that were controversial. The podcasting story only made things, I guess you could say, more dicey. But at the end of the day, if Draymond just gets something going to the slightest degree of what he's capable of, we can see this entire thing click in a way we haven't seen yet.
He needs
let
to
alone
stop
Klay
being a
Thompson.
point guard so much.
Yeah.
He took so many passes, especially late in that
and
fourth
he dished
quarter
it out a
last
lot.
night,
You were
where
even
he was
saying,
just passing it for no reason.
and you were saying multiple times, because again, we watched the broadcast together. You
There
were like,
were-
put it
There was
up.
like 2 or 3 times where him and Looney were right underneath the basket.
Yep.
And he just passed it straight across, like just go up with it.
Yep.
Maybe he can get the rebound. That's how he's going to get the pass. You know what I mean? I miss a couple shots. I call them, passes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Playing a little rec ball, but
Yep.
do that. You know what I mean? That's how you can use his size. Because when they went to that lineup where where Draymond was off, Looney had that nice little dunk. That putback dunk he had,
And
he kept it going.
And even Kerr in the post-game presser said Looney brings aspects to the table that are so invaluable, like we don't know if we're here without him. So we're starting to see these role players, like we even saw in the past from this Warriors run, contribute in major ways. It just happened at such a perfectly and almost even, I guess you could say, desperately needed time to where it seemed that much more magnified and that much more important, Lugo. And again, that now brings us into Game 5. It's knotted 2-2, heading heading back to San Francisco. And I honestly am all over the Warriors riding this one. I wouldn't lay the 3.5 against Boston. I think we're going to see another dogfight here. I'm leaning, like you said, going lower. I think we're going to see a bit of a defensive grind, at least for some point of this game, some stretch of this game.
I think this is the only back-to-back win.
I do too. Give me the Warriors under 2. Give me the Warriors with the win under 212.5. That's my early lean. Not touching the point spread. In fact, Richard likes to talk about hedging opportunities. If anything, I may even take the points with Boston at the 3.5 on a 3.5 line, and then take the Warriors to win the game. We talked about it in the week leading up, even a few days after we wrapped the show 2 weeks ago when the series got underway, or was just about to get underway, Lugo, about the day or two before. And I talked about how I think the 2 games we'll see back-to-back are the Warriors bouncing back in Game 4, Game 5. I think Boston, with their backs against the wall, bounce back, and that all sets up for the final dance in San Francisco, Game 7, and that's where I think the Warriors take it. But, boy, I can't lie. There's been a couple of games, Mike, where just this series alone, I've seen Golden State and I've seen Boston, and I think I still don't truly know if Golden State is the better team.
Exactly.
And even after Game 4, Lugo, I don't know if they're the better team.
But at the same time, there's so many times this whole postseason, you've looked at Boston, and it's been just like, are they that team can go past it? Because they've had those games. Like, I know the Warriors got blown out by the Memphis Grizzlies, like, 50 points or whatever. But it seems like every Boston series has gone mostly the distance.
And it's been a dogfight practically every game.
And there's been those first 4 games where it's like one game they look like that team that can win it all. And then there's the next game where they just look like, what the heck are they doing out there? You know what I mean? So defensively and offensively. So some days it clicks for them and some days it doesn't. So, like I said, I don't think this is a game that's going to click for them. I do think, like you said, game 6 will be that ultimatum, because the Warriors don't want to win it in Boston.
No, yeah. And I truly do see Golden State not necessarily taking a game off in Game 6. I just see Boston bouncing back in dramatic fashion. And if they bounce back dramatically enough, there's no reason why Boston cannot go to Golden State and win that Game 7. This is going to go down the wire, and as we get closer and closer to that possible Game 7, I feel it's that much more likely, especially as we now have a Game 5 spot again on the very near horizon with that going down
Game 6.
Monday
Klay Thompson
night.
hasn't done nothing since that Game 6.
He hasn't done anything.
I supported that Game 6 theory, but now he hasn't done nothing
and you
since
look
then.
at the 2 series, and you look at what Boston had to go through in that war against Miami compared to Golden State's much more one-sided affair against the Mavericks, and you would think that it would be easier for that to roll over. But again, it's all about the matchups in this aspect, and you have a team that's very top-heavy in Golden State versus a team that's very well-rounded in Boston. That's why, again, it was so interesting to see Golden State show up in aspects that we haven't seen them show up prior at the right time, even though, again, it was mostly Curry leading that effort. It was the star power shining through, and as we always talk about, Lugs, basketball is one sport where you're able to do that, and when it's all said and done, the Golden State Warriors could win this thing for that very reason. So obviously plenty to talk about there. Really quick, Lugo, what are your thoughts on the line? I gave my pick. Do you have any strong opinion on the line right now if you were to have one?
Honestly, what was the line at again? I haven't really looked at it
Golden
yet.
State laying 3.5.
Golden State's laying 3.5.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see them. This game, it could be that another close one, but once again it gets down to the free throw game, and I don't like that 3.5 sitting in the free throw game.
Gun to my head if that line.
The free throw game almost screwed me last night.
And we got a lot, and it's interesting because we got a lot of two-way action. Even last night, when you look at that game, there was a lot. We talked about it with a buddy who was over at the house with us watching the game, and he even said there was more two-way action than we thought. So that really kind of caught me off guard, and I'm expecting something similar to take place. Yeah, and I'm expecting something similar to take place in the next couple of days, because rest assured that line will move. But again, gun to my head right now.
That train, B.
Gun to my head, I'm going Golden State with the win, Boston with the cover, but I'm not playing that line. So before we take a quick break, again, we'll just touch up on the hockey game. Rangers in a hole. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about there. They come out strong. A lot of so much of what we saw from the Rangers just 2 weeks ago, Mike, when you were doing the show with me, they were in that Game 6 spot. We saw what they were able to do against Carolina in Game 6, in Game 7, completely just come out of the gate strong. A lot of speed, a lot of physicality. Punched them in the mouth, and then they did the same to Tampa the first 2 games and have not been able to kind of catch that thunder since then. Tampa's showing they're the better team, and they're here for a reason.
Three-peat.
They're a possible three-peat for the first time in sports for a reason. And Tampa Bay, again, when you look at the Stamkoses of the world and everybody around him, their scores, the goaltending, and Vasilevsky, just such a well-assembled roster. But New York has the right type of style to compete with them. We saw them punch them in the mouth, get physical. It's just you have to wonder, after that tough Game 3 loss where the Warriors could have gone up for Game 3. Because here's the thing. You go up Game 3, then Tampa has to win 4 straight.
Exactly.
That's what people don't forget. We've had these instances where your Cubbies, you're rocking the hat right now, they came back 3-1 in 2016. LeBron and the Cavaliers did against the Warriors, who we were just discussing. They did that too. But there's a big difference in 3-1 and 3-0 when you have to win those 4 straight as opposed to the 3 straight. And now we're in a case where the Islanders may win 4 straight without even going to 7. It could have been an instance where the Warriors would have had to win the first 3 and then they would have forced their hand. Now the Islanders may just win straight 4 without even going the final way. If this game were to end right now, that would be the case. There's about 4 minutes left in the second.
Yeah.
So that's pretty reflective of just how much the momentum flipped. Momentum in playoff sports, I'm not a huge fan of in terms of
28-second win, man.
Right, in terms of analyzing it. But sometimes losses are so backbreaking, you just can't capture that magic again. And I think that Game 3 loss where the the Lightning were able to rally. The Rangers have been on their heels ever since, and now they've been covering up rather than throwing blows, where for that Carolina series down the stretch and for the early part of this series, that wasn't the case. You have a big smile on your face right now. What are you looking at?
Nah, nothing.
Something caught your attention.
Yeah, you were just all over with the Rangers, Islanders.
Oh yeah, no, it's
Warriors.
Lightning,
thing.
Warrior, Rangers,
Lightning,
Islanders.
I was all over.
Yeah, but either way, my point ultimately being is that obviously
it will be an accident. I will agree with that one.
The Rangers
just seal it in Tampa and get it over with.
And that's what's just interesting about it, because it just goes to show how one thing here and there, especially against a good stacked team who could really, really score like Tampa. Just like that, it looks like the Rangers never even had that 2-0 lead.
They look like a junior team. Well, you're going to look like that. They're exhausted. I mean, they've played back-to-back 7-game series. It's exhausting in the playoffs.
And they're a physical team who often empties the tank whenever they play.
And it's not like the Boston Celtics who go back-to-back 7-game series when every other game they're taking a night off and going through cruise mode. You know what I mean? In hockey, you can't do that.
No, it's not.
You know what I mean? You have to go full speed no matter what.
No matter what. And the way, in basketball, it's a game of runs. You could cut down leads rather easy. When you get into a hole, granted, it's only 1-0 game right now, but when you get any kind of offensive deficit against a team like Tampa, when you're not built to score like Tampa, it's going to be tough to come back from that. But we'll see. We still have a whole period, lend some change in this one to go in Game 6, and we'll see if they could stay alive and force a Game 7. It would be awesome as a sports fan, but again, as if you know hockey, you know the Lightning are a damn good team, and they are on their way to possibly three-peating. And we have to go on our way to commercial because we have said a lot. But again, a lot to talk about on the wood, a lot to talk about on the ice, and when we come back, we'll talk about plenty in the octagon. UFC 275 going down tonight. We're just about 15 minutes away from the main card going down on pay-per-view. So we'll preview and analyze some big-time bouts. We have a rematch of a classic title fight from just a couple years ago and 2 title fights as co-main events of this card. So we'll dive in next.
They can go out like that.
We'll dive in next right here on Full Tilt Vegas.
Keep the
Stick
tweets
around.
coming.
Live Vegas Studios, a unique multi-camera social media virtual content creators paradise. We offer high-end services using live streaming and film production for your personal or corporate, commercial or event and campaign needs. Pre-record or live stream to your audience on multiple social media platforms simultaneously. Fun and interactive with social media comments, phone lines, live remotes, audio Foley sounds, and Snapchat filters. Be creative, get recognized, and make money. We help you by providing an all in-house production team. Visit our website at golive.vegas.
What's going on, everybody? Brett Lawson here, co-host of Full Tilt Vegas and local sports analyst. Just a quick heads up, moving forward, I will be a regular part of the show where my segment, the back end of the show, will focus on everything in the world of sports gambling. You will still have Richard's insights and expertise and everything from his book, Winning Ways, in the first part of the show where he will dabble with table games and overall floor-related gambling, where my part of the show will focus on analyzing matchups, odds, totals, money lines, spreads, props, overall gambling, psychology, and philosophy, and just the things you need to know if you want to become a sports bettor or if you already are a sports bettor and want to sharpen your skills in that racket. So stick around. Moving forward, you will have both ends of the spectrum in the world of gambling with Richard and myself moving forward on Full Tilt Vegas. All right. Pushing forward here on Full Tilt. Great stuff from Richard early on and great stuff from Lugo. Happy that he's joining me once again here in our Go Live Vegas studios. Again, plenty to talk about, and there will be plenty to talk about in the coming days regarding the NBA Finals and, of course, the Stanley Cup playoffs. We will keep you posted here over the next 15 minutes in terms of just how this Game 6, the second period of it, in Tampa Bay wraps up between the Rangers and the Lightning. Again, the Rangers down 1-0 right now, facing elimination with the cup on the line. So, again, it's all about, we'll see who raises the cup when it's all said and done. We'll dive plenty more, well, I guess a strip to the Stanley Cup playoff on the line, we should say, to see who's going to take on the Avalanche. And you want to talk about well-rested teams like we were talking about in the NBA. Avalanche, man, they could add a mini.
They even remember they have a series
right,
next?
They could add a mini vacation. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, oh, my God.
This is the finals.
We still have, exactly. We're still in the Eastern
Stanley
Conference
Cup.
Finals, and we still have the cup on the line for a possible 7 games. And that hasn't even started yet, and this one could still have another game in its own right if the Rangers are able to score 2 goals in the final 20 minutes. But we'll see. It looks like Lugo's pretty bullish, or excuse me, pretty bearish on the chance of that happening. We'll see. I mean, hey, Colorado's a fast team. Some people think Colorado is the team to beat regardless of who comes out of the East. I was talking to a couple of guys who are big hockey fans, big just like enthusiasts of the game, and they say this Avalanche team, regardless of who it is, Lightning or Rangers, they may be the team.
We're just set to have a pretty good Stanley Cup final.
No doubt. And the Avalanche have guys who were at their disposal because of injury who aren't even on the ice who can make them that much better. This is a valuable time for them to rest up. So
Exactly.
we'll see how that goes. Again, we'll keep you posted.
Because they swept them, didn't they?
Right.
Or is it a gentleman?
It was a straight sweep. It was almost it looked like it was going to be a gentleman because Edmonton got up like 3-1, and then Colorado was still able to come back. So, nope, a straight 4-0 sweep for the Colorado Avalanche. But again, we'll take it to the cage now. We're about 15 minutes away from UFC 275 going on pay-per-view, and a lot to talk about there. Lugo, we have 2 titles co-maining this. Jiri Prochazka challenges Glover Teixeira for his light heavyweight gold. Again, Glover Teixeira riding a career high, a career resurgence, where he captures that title by defeating Jan Blachowicz. Prochazka, only 2 fights in the UFC, but boy, were they won in tremendous fashion with 2 impressive knockouts over Volkan Oezdemir and Dominic Reyes. That headlines things tonight. As does Valentina Shevchenko, defending her women's flyweight gold against Talia Santos, one of the best all-round, well-rounded fighters in the game, and a complete martial artist, an all-around athlete who is establishing her legacy as one of the most dominant champions we've ever seen. Can't she have yet another defense as she looks to clean out the flyweight division? But Lugo, before we get to that in our picks there, we start with a rematch of one of the greatest fights, not just in the history of the women's strawweight division, not just in the history of women's MMA or the UFC. I'm talking combat sports in all, period, in total. This is one of the greatest fights of all time. 2 warriors will go at it once again as Zhang Weili takes on Joanna Jędrzejczyk in Act 2. Again, a 115-pound bout. The last time these two went at it, it was with gold on the line, where Zhang Weili defended her strap in a split decision victory in which Joanna's forehead looked like it had a softball in it, one of the worst hematomas you will ever see, and yet she was not
300, man.
She was not able
from 300.
she was not able to finish her off. The chin for Joanna, that's ultimately my question, Lugo. Will it still be there? This is her first fight since that bout that took place right around the time the pandemic was kicking into gear, March of 2020, a time way back when. Obviously, a lot has transpired since then. But in that gap, Joanna has not fought. There has been a lot of shakeup in this division. We've seen what has happened with Rose. Rose defeats Zhang. Zhang hasn't won in her last 2 fights because she wheels down to Rose. And then Rose, with that abysmal performance we saw recently against Carla Esparza, there's been a lot of shakeup in 115, and a lot can happen in the near future. This fight, very much more on the line for Zhang Weili. If she wants to get back in that title picture, she's the number 2 ranked strawweight contender right now. She's going to have to get another victory over Joanna. But I don't know if we are in store for the same type of war, Lugo, that we saw the first time around. I think we're going to see a good fight.
Maybe not because the fresh body.
Exactly.
She may tiptoe around.
But here's what you got to wonder. For the elite fighters, ring rust is usually never an issue.
Yeah.
It just isn't. Joanna, however, you have to wonder, will the chin still be there? Can she still be an elite fighter? Now, in terms of the striking, she in terms of the kickboxing, the Muay Thai. She has the fluidity, the footwork, the angles, the distance control. At one point, it was as elite as anybody in the sport. And she can do so much with her striking base, but so can Zhang Weili.
Exactly.
You have two
She's
kickboxers.
desperate for a win, man. She's coming out.
And
She's going to test that chin.
And she's going to test the chin. And Weili is 0-2 in her last 2 bouts, where she hasn't looked as impressive. On paper, she may be the most naturally gifted, athletic strawweight in the world right now. So she desperately needs a win. So we'll have enough time to get to these other 2 bouts here in the next couple of minutes. I'm just going to give my pick. Joanna, she's 16-4, 34 years old, and is the plus 140 dog, with Weili getting the chalk at minus 160. So a close fight here in terms of the odds. Weili is a few years younger, 2 years younger. She's 21-3. So kind of at similar road stops here in their careers. It's more so the question of where are they going to go next in what is a very, very interesting and at times volatile 115-pound division. Weili, it's going to be huge for her just to get some momentum going in terms of that skill set. We haven't seen a whole lot from her like we saw before, where she was dominating the circuit on the Chinese, dominating the game on the Chinese circuit. Yeah. Joanna is a former champion who has fought some of the very best, including Valentina Shevchenko at a division above. My pick right now is, honestly, I don't have a strong pick on who wins it. I could see another split decision victory. However, tonight, I do not think, like we saw 2 years ago, it goes the distance. So my play is, does the fight go the distance? No, plus 165. Do you have a play on the fight of who wins?
For the who wins the
between those two.
I'm going with man, I don't know. I'm up in the air because I just don't know. The fresh body and someone that's desperate for a win. I'm gonna go with someone that's still in the game. You know
so you're going with Weili?
Yeah, Weili.
So you think Weili gets another win? Do you think
Yeah.
she stops her? Or do you think it's another scorecard victory for her?
I think this one's gonna be a scorecard victory because, like I said, the fresh body. She's gonna be walking around, man. She's gonna try and find that rhythm.
Yeah.
You know, it's something new to her. You can do all those.
And we'll
expedition you want, you know what I mean? But it's nothing like the real deal.
Well, yeah, obviously sparring and training is a serious task in its own right, but it's not fighting. It's not the same. And a 2-year layoff, even if you don't have ring rust per se, when you're fighting another elite fighter, one who you fought before, it still could go south quickly, just especially given the fact that Weili was going to have the power and the overall speed advantage. Joanna, however, you can make the case is still the better technical striker.
What do you think the recovery time of that forehead?
Oh, man, that was brutal. And that's another reason she was just medically probably suspended for I think it was like the first 6 months of that 2-year gap, simply because they wouldn't let her fight. The commissions wouldn't let her fight, and rightfully so when you saw what happened. But again, that was just an absolute symphony of violence, one of the greatest bouts you will ever see in this sport or any sport where prize fighting is the name of the game. So hopefully we're in store for another good one tonight. The bout taking place right after that. Again, these are taking place. The main card goes down in about 5 minutes, but these are taking place a little bit later. We have the strawweight rematch and the 2 co-main events, the title bouts. So get your bets in now. Get on those mobile apps. Get your money in while you can. And again, some of these odds may change up to the very last minute of the fight. But Shevchenko, even if with a little tweaking here, it's not going to change much of the story in this one. Very lopsided for that women's flyweight title bout, as Valentina Shevchenko is the minus 700 favorite, with Talia Santos coming back as a plus 500 dog. Now Santos is 19-1, 28 years old. Shevchenko 22-3, 34 years old. Hasn't even been made to look mortal for the most part during this run in the flyweight division. The only 2 fights I could recall of recent memory where she's even been tested was when she bumped up to 135 to take on Amanda Nunes in those 2 losses. Both of them were razor thin at that. You look at Shevchenko, obviously the cardio, the fluidity, the ability to control distance, the volume, lacks power, the power that her opponent has in Talia Santos, but makes up for it with the sheer violence and the onslaught you get, much like Joanna. Strong kickboxing background with the Muay Thai, a lot of fluidity, uses all parts of the body, the knees, the elbows, the fists, the legs, the feet, from all different angles to make things very difficult for you. And here's the worst part, Lugo, because I know you like the strikers, but what do you do when you have a striker who's also world-class in her stand-up defensive wrestling skills and even in her clinch and takedown skills? That's what you have in Valentina Shevchenko. And as good as Santos is, she's a strong wrestler and grappler in her own right with a Muay Thai background with a lot of power. And while she has the edge in power, strength, and size, I think Shevchenko, I know this is a mouthful, but I think Shevchenko picks up the TKO. No value in picking her with an outright win, so I'm going with an outcome prop. I think Shevchenko wins via KO/TKO at a price of plus 200, Lugo.
I like it, man. I really don't know who. like you said, man, I'm one for the knockout. When I see them come on the stage,
Yeah.
that's, you know what I mean, that's when I kind of really
then
go for that
and,
judge.
And
you
then
know?
we'll turn to this then, because I know you may not know as much about Talia Santos. A lot of people don't.
The prelims
Often
have
though,
been good.
yeah, the prelims have been very good tonight. A lot of action, a lot of stoppages. But often in this fight game, when you have these up-and-comers, these fighters with this dark horse talk, the Chris Weidmans versus the Anderson Silvas, we've seen some cases in the past. Whenever this happens, even the Henry Cejudo, Demetrius Johnsons, whenever this tends to happen, we are often surprised and kind of left in hindsight thinking, well, maybe we should have given those guys with that dark horse talk and that sleeper talk a little more credit. I don't think Santos gets her hand raised tonight, but I think this will be a much more competitive fight than a lot of people realize. I think the odds are not accurate in terms of how they're accurate in terms of coming in. I understand why they're so lopsided, but that will not be the case in the fight tonight. I think Santos will continuously be in Shevchenko's face, and Shevchenko's going to have to work for this one. This will not be a cakewalk like we've seen some of her other 125-pound bouts, but I think the method of victory is similar to what she did with Jessica Andrade. Ultimately, the volume and the distance will become too much for the bigger, stronger Santos, to where she will take away that power, that edge and power, cut her down, maybe even get her down with a takedown and finish her from there with, again, that relentless attack. Lugo, we'll wrap it up here. We want to talk about two guys with relentless onslaughts, albeit in different ways. The light heavyweight title bout for the main event. Glover Teixeira, the champion, at plus 170 plus 170 dog price, with the challenger Jiri Prochazka as minus 200 chalk. Rare instance where you have the challenger as the favorite, but given this point in the careers, 29 years old, he's 28-3-1. Again, only 2 fights in the UFC, but tremendous knockouts against 2 contenders in that light heavyweight division. Glover Teixeira riding a career high, the veteran. He's 33-7, 42 years old, world-class grappler and jiu-jitsu player, and very offensive and aggressive with his jiu-jitsu. Some guys, a lot of times when it comes to jiu-jitsu, people think guys pulling guard, laying on their back, fighting from a defensive, cautious position, but Glover Teixeira, one of these guys, much like a Gilbert Burns or even a Rafael dos Anjos or Damian Maia in their prime, a guy who will actually utilize takedowns and forward pressure, utilize a wrestling offensive approach, and then incorporate the submissions that he has in his jiu-jitsu arsenal to get that finish. That is exactly what we saw against Jan Blachowicz, who in his own right just got back into title contention. We will see if Blachowicz will find himself against one of these two here tonight. But Prochazka, much along with the theme of the Muay Thai fighters we've been talking about here the past few minutes, the kickboxing, the fluidity, the all-in-all versatility in his striking background, much like Shevchenko and Jędrzejczyk, I think Prochazka will push the pressure early. The longer the fight goes, it goes more into Glover's favor, but I think Prochazka gets him out of there early. Lugo, I'm going with the round prop on this play at 1.5 rounds. As much as I love Glover, this has been a tremendous comeback, and what a title win it was when he was able to beat Blachowicz. If he gets Prochazka down, he certainly can finish him, but I think the early attack will be too much for him to handle early, and that sprawl and brawl strategy will keep Prochazka on his feet long enough to where he lands a clean shot, whether it be a punch, an elbow, or a knee, that drops Glover and leads to a new champion being crowned. There's been a lot of change, much like we've seen in some of these other divisions. That light heavyweight division's been an interesting one, and I think when it's all said and done, Jiri Prochazka, who has 25 stoppages, gets his 26 tonight, knocking out Glover Teixeira at a minus 135 outcome price. So there you go. I like Prochazka getting Glover out of there under 1.5. So I like him at the KO, TKO minus 135, and the under 1.5 plus 130.
Look at you with the props, man.
Yeah, when you don't,
them out.
and honestly, sometimes it's just the best way to go with the props. You know this now. Everyone congratulate Lugo. He's a new bettor in terms of the online sphere. Got an account with Boyd Gaming. Has been making some prop bets, making some total bets, making some ATS bets. And how has it been the first week?
It's been pretty solid.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of learning the ropes. Been asking some people how to look around some things. Been testing the ropes, but it's been pretty good. Have had positive comeback out of it. It's just about finding that right one. You know what I mean? It's not winning every night.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Not winning everything.
And
just know that.
And what do we talk about? Betting what you know.
I
used to say that, you may have rolled your eyes a little bit, but now you're starting to realize he may be right.
Parlays.
Yeah, and you know that's right. Ditch the parlays. And once we get to football, you'll really understand, especially professional football.
Gotta love those baseball parlays, though.
Fair enough, but in terms of professional football, death to the parlay. I know a lot of our listeners and viewers are rolling their eyes at that because everyone knows what parlays do. But as we get closer to football season, we'll dive into that. But I'm happy you're in the betting sphere. Keep getting on those plays. Get on the app tonight.
Send it, baby.
Get on some UFC action. Any pick in the main event for the light heavyweight strap?
I
like
think
the
we got a
veteran?
new championship
I
this
do
year.
too. I think
not this year, but this
This
fight.
tonight. I
Yeah.
think the badass from the Czech Republic gets it done, and Teixeira, as great as it's been, I think the run ends tonight
Exactly.
against the young upstart Jiří Procházka. We'll find out though. Main card underway right now, so we'll shut up and get right to it. We'll catch you next week right here from the Go Live Vegas studios, same time, same
Dubs
place.
and 7.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Lugo. We'll have a lot to recap next time we're on the set. We'll see Dubs and 7, maybe. Don't count on it though. It's a good series, so we'll be able to talk about it in about a week's time. So we'll see you then right here on Full Tilt Vegas. Have a good one, y'all.